All right. Week 7, not chapter 7, practice 7. You don't know what you don't know. I love this one too, Bridget. Um, so we're just gonna like kick it off with because a lot of times we hear that and it maybe has been presented to us as derogatory, right? You don't know. You don't know. But I want you to hear this a little bit different from the perspective of grace. Okay. So, sorry, guys. I should have had this pulled up. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. Um, okay. It's Luke 23:34. And it's when Jesus is on the cross and he says, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." Which, guess what that means, guys? If you don't, and one of the things, let me say this, in if you look at our principles, you'll see that thinking is in the head and knowing is in the body. So there's a lot of times we say the words, "Oh, I know," but head knowing is not the kind of knowing we're talking about. When Jesus said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do," it was an embodiment, right? And remember, we're programmed averse to the gospel. Okay. So when Jesus was saying, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do," he wasn't like, "Oh, give them pity." He was stating a fact. We are not held accountable for what we have not embodied and changed to some degree. There's a little caveat to that. We'll get to that in just a minute. But for the most part, when we think about you don't know what you don't know, it should be an invitation for curiosity. It should be an invitation for grace, right? And that's two sides of the pendulum. We were talking about that this morning in our coaching group. And the difference between the human and curiosity, right? I have to suspend what I think I know, recognizing that what I know is actually manifesting. Because remember, as a man thinketh where? Not in his head, in his heart. So he is. So whatever's showing up in our life is what we are believing and knowing. And just like Jamie said, like, I'm doing all the fucking things. She didn't say that. I paraphrased. Thank you very much. Because y'all know I gotta drop some F's early on in the party. Yeah. So I'm doing all the fucking things. And still I feel like. And in that moment, I would say, Jamie, as Jesus looks at you, he says, "Girl, forgive yourself. You don't know all the things that you need to know for things to be different yet. Can you give yourself some grace? Can you let your human actually like do a human thing, which is progress over time, right? But we get so wanting things to be the way that we think they should be. And this invitation to, I don't know what I don't know, you don't know what you don't know, really is the invitation into grace and the allowance to be forgiven when you're doing all the things you know to do. Because now, when we open up to curiosity, now Jesus, who is the way, the truth, and the life, will open a way, will reveal in life what our next step is. Right? So let's go to John 9. 39 through 41. And Jesus says, "For judgment I have come unto the world, so that the blind will see, and those who see will become blind." Some Pharisees who were with him heard, hold please. Are they not in the truck in the
No.
center console?
No.
Oh, maybe they're in my purse hanging on the chair.
Okay.
Oh, that's weird. I
Wrong
don't know why I
time.
would
They're
bring them
already
in.
here.
Oh, bye. My brother and sister-in-law are coming in. It's my dad's 80, would have been my dad's 83rd birthday. So they came in today. We're going to go have dinner at the Golden Corral because that was my dad's favorite. And then we're going to spread his ashes this weekend. So, and apparently my mom had the wrong time to pick him up at the airport and they're already here. So we were supposed to go together. So that's why she's like, so anyway, there's a little nugget of information into my world. Okay, I'm going to start over. Okay, Jesus said, "For judgment I have come into this world, so that the blind will see, and those who see will become blind." Some Pharisees who were with him heard him say this and asked, "What? Are we blind too?" And now think about it, you guys. Guess how they're asking? What? Us? Are we blind? That's that narky part of us when we think we know what we don't know. Okay. Because y'all, we all got a little Pharisee in us. Let me just tell you. Jesus said, "If you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But now that you have claimed to see, your guilt remains." So, guys, the invitation here is when we go, "Oh no, I know. I know what the Bible says. I know what God means. I even know what I know." If you have to defend it, it's a cognitive thinking or program. It's not an embodiment. Because if you embodied it, if you really knew it, you wouldn't need to defend it. You would just be it. And this is what we talk about with blind eyes, the fact that our ignorance, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not." They're blind. We don't expect a blind person to tell us what this looks like. If I put this in front of a blind person and said, "What is this?" A blind person would say, "I don't know. I'm blind." And there would be no problem with them saying, "I don't know. I'm blind." Yes? So again, this is the invitation into curiosity and grace. Because if I go, "Oh yeah, I know what that is. I know." Now I'm responsible for knowing. And that's what he was talking about with the Pharisees. And this is where our own ego and our own understanding of something gets in the way of grace coming into our life and actually opening up the way. You guys see how all this is connected? So cool. It's so cool. Um, Now, one of my favorite things to teach is telling the whole truth. We talked about this, I think, last week or the week before, when Jamie was like, "Yeah, I'm fucking pissed. I want my fucking money. I want this overturned." And I don't know that that's what's best for me. As much as I want this, I don't know that that's what's best for me. So I'm going to surrender to whatever actually happens is God's best for me. Now, is that always easy to then go, "Oh, look, I didn't get what I wanted, but it's God's best for me. So in 1 second, we can change it"? No, which is exactly why Jamie says, "I'm practicing. I'm reading my scriptures. I'm showing up for Bible study. I'm showing up. I'm surrounding myself with people who will remind me that I'm loved, that I'm powerful, that I'm supported. Because right now, this doesn't feel like God's best for me, but it must be because that's what showed up, right? That's the acting out of the I don't know what I don't know. I think I know. I want to know. This is what I think is best for me. And I'm willing to surrender what I think I know for the possibility of what I don't know that I don't know, because now grace enters in. And Jesus, being the way, the truth, and the life, then opens our blind eyes. And then we go, oh shit, that's why this was what was best for me. That's why this is why it's so good. Oh, that's why. Yes. But sometimes it takes a while for that process to happen. Okay. Let's go to First Timothy 1:13. Even though I was once blasphemer and a persecutor of, wait, I don't think this was one of the ones that I wanted. Oh, yes, it is. The second half of it. I'm like, why did I put this one on my list? Okay. Even though I was once a blasphemer and a persecutor and a violent man. Okay. I was shown mercy because I acted in ignorance and unbelief. Okay. Um, so the Pharisees, if you're not familiar with the history of the Bible, the Pharisees were the church, the religious uh, examples. And then when Jesus came and his followers came after Jesus, the Pharisees were actually like persecuting, killing, I mean, crucifying those that didn't believe the way that they believed. Okay. And so in this verse, what Timothy is saying is, yeah, I was a blasphemer. I was a pure persecutor of the truth, but I didn't know what I didn't know. I was doing the best that I could. And grace was given to me once what? Once my blind eyes saw, right? Once I had the experience of my eyes being opened, I wasn't held to that guilt because I didn't know what I didn't know. I was doing the best I could. And guys, let me just tell you, sometimes God lets us do the douchey things just to be an example of what it looks like to be repentive and apologize and say, oh shit, I didn't know what I didn't know, right? To be an example of what humility looks like, because not everybody will enter into humility. So sometimes we stay stuck in our blindness. As an example, I don't know where this is. This is just coming up. I think we actually might have talked about it somewhere. Anyway, no, I think I was talking to somebody else. Anyway, there is a story where the disciples were like walking through cities, whatever, and there was a blind man, and the chattering was, well, is he blind because of his parents' sin or because of his sin? And I don't remember. I think it actually might have been Jesus that specifically said, yeah, it was. Thank you, Jamie. This is why I usually write things down when I'm actually going to get it from the Bible. And y'all know I said from the very beginning, I'm a liar. Go fact check this in the Bible. But so Jesus said, neither. His blindness is for the purpose of the glory of God. Our blindness is for the purpose of the glory of God. So don't get all caught up in you not being further along than you think you should be. Don't get caught up in, oh, I fucked up. I did a thing. Oh, I was wrong. All of it is part of the grand plan, right? And then when we allow that grace to come in and say, oh, you know what? I'm doing everything I know to do. I must be exactly where I'm supposed to be. Why? For the glory of God. What what God is doing in your life right now, Jamie, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. You are not behind, right? Does it hurt? Yes. Does it mean that like the suffering goes away? No. That's not what we're saying. Right? Is it hard to be blind? Yes. Is it hard to be frustrated when you think you're doing or when you're doing all the things that you think you should be doing? Yes. All of that is hard and frustrating. And it's all divinely purposed for the glory of God. Because at some point in time, I haven't learned this yet. It's not about me. Right? I'm still learning this one. Hardcore, hardcore, right? All right. 1 Corinthians 13:12. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. Guys, and this is the intimacy of that true knowing. And this idea back in the First Timothy where he says, I was shown mercy. Why? Because I acted in ignorance and unbelief. The only belief that is our unbelief is how loved we are. So guess what? Guess what the antidote for not knowing what we don't know and walking in the blindness and all of the things is, oh, in this moment that I'm pushing that I need to know what I need to know or that I think I know, but there's resistance. Guess what? If I just know I'm loved, if I just believe I'm loved, that is that Tracy, what you were talking about, that frequency, that alignment with Christ consciousness, that knowing I'm loved. And when I know I'm loved, guess what? Everything that comes out of me is love. Right? Now, that's in this moment. Guess what? The next moment, I'm going to not know shit again. I might get stuck in my unbelief again. But where's our focus? Do we stay in the unbelief? Do we stay there? No, we stop. We go to the scriptures. Right? Jamie said, no, I need these scriptures. I need to keep pouring them into my body because it's helping me with all the places that I'm angry, that I don't understand why God would do what God is doing. Right? Where's our focus? Do we remember we're loved? There's a line in a Casting Crowns song. I love Casting Crowns. And it says, if your eyes are on the storm, you'll doubt if I love you. If your eyes are on the cross, you know I have and I always will. Where's your focus? Where's your focus? And guys, this is the maturing of our spiritual life is just refining our focus. That's it. That's all. We go from blind to not being able to focus, like Tracy was talking about. My human, my spirit, my human, my spirit. I'm tossed back and forth. Which one? Human, spirit, right? We don't know what our focus is. We don't know where to focus. So we just keep doing the very best we know to do. And then we trust that we're exactly where we're supposed to be, doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing, and all of it is for the glory of God. Now it's well with my soul. Yeah? Okay. Okay, so let me go back to a little bit of in that First Corinthians. What I love about this is it reminds me of the refiner's fire. And if you know how to refine gold, right? They take a piece of impure gold and they put it in a bowl, I don't know, a bowl, and they light the fire underneath. Now, what happens? It disrupts, right, Crystal? It disrupts the impurities in the gold. And then what happens is the dross is what it's called, the impurities, they bubble up. And at some point in time, the impurities are so heavy that the fire can't do more work because this is too heavy. So the goldsmith scrapes off the gold or the dross, and then they start the process again, and it disrupts the impurities, and the purities come up. Now, from 10 karat gold to 12 karat gold, it looks shinier. But then from 12 karat gold to 24 karat gold, it looks even shinier. And I don't know what pure gold is, what that number or whatever. But as those impurities get removed and scraped off and removed, and the process goes over and over and over again, guess when the goldsmith knows it's pure gold? He sees his reflection in the gold. This is the picture of us as this fire fires. Maybe it's the confusion that Tracy is, which way do I look? Maybe it's the disrupting that Crystal was talking about. Maybe it's a divorce that you got screwed, that is the thing, that is the fire that God is using to separate the pure essence of you from your programs and your patterns. And he's scraping it off. And guess when he knows you're all done? When you look just like him. And through this process, we know in part, but someday we'll be fully known when we fully allow ourselves to be seen the way that God sees us. When we're fully known, not by God, God already fully knows us. When we're fully known by us in relationship and agreement with how God sees us, now we'll look just like him. Yeah. All right. Isaiah 55, 8 and 9. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declare the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so my ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Guys, we think we know shit. We think we know. Why? Because we've been told it's true, and then it's embodied into our nervous system, into our cells. We think we know something. Guess what, guys? We don't know shit. We really, 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 because it's all of the cognitive understanding of how life works, not the embodiment of the knowing of who we really are in Christ. And guess what? When I just go, oh, I don't know what I don't know, now it opens me up to curiosity and grace. And now it's well with my soul, and it doesn't even matter what I do because it's going to be good. Even if I did it and didn't realize that I was jacking something up. So I remember one time, and this was just such a clear picture. I didn't I was not raised with good boundaries, and I happened to marry people who didn't have good boundaries. And my former husband, I didn't have good boundaries with, and we always fought about the dogs. And one day I was like, I'm setting this boundary. Now, guys, a boundary is not to control somebody else, and a boundary is not to keep anyone out. A boundary is my decision for how I'm going to be treated. They get to do whatever they want. But a boundary is my decision of how I'm going to be treated. And so I set my boundary and it felt so good and I felt so empowered, you guys. And I said the thing and I did the thing and it was so amazing. And then the next day, God said, "Hey, Lori, I just want you to know that wasn't a real boundary. You were telling him what to do." I'm like, "Oh, shit. I really thought it was a boundary." He goes, I know you did. And the way that you practiced expressing that boundary was exactly what you needed to do to then hear that that wasn't a boundary. But do you guys get that? If God hadn't let me have total peace and alignment with moving forward in that moment, I would have never gained what I had in that moment in order to then hear, "Hey, Lori, that wasn't really a boundary, and this is how to do it different." Do you guys get that? Right? And that in its essence was the playing out, the living in the practice. I don't know what I don't know. Because as soon as God told me, I wasn't like, "Well, God," because the old me would have gone, "Well, God, you told me." Right? I was like, "Oh, damn. Okay, I can see that. I can see that." We even use that verbiage. "Okay, God, I can see that. My blind eyes now could see. Oh, I thought it was a boundary. It wasn't a boundary, but I needed to do what I did in order to get to the place where now I can see what a real boundary is." It's all good. It's all good. My blindness was for the glory of God. I didn't do anything wrong. My blindness was for the glory of God. And so when we really settle into, okay, God's ways are not our ways, God's thoughts are not our thoughts. And so if I think I know something, especially, do you guys want to know a hint of when you think you know something that you don't really know? Do you need validation for it? You don't really know it, you just think it. Do you need to defend it? You don't really know it, you just believe it. Do you feel like somebody's challenging your intelligence or your knowing? You don't know it. You don't know it. You think it, you cognitively believe it. It's a programmed pattern because truth in the knowing that we're talking about knowing doesn't need to be validated, doesn't need to be defended, and doesn't need to be justified. Okay. So when we remember, we want to practice. I don't know what I don't know. I'm open to curiosity and grace. Okay. And then Proverbs 3:5-7. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all of your ways, submit to him, and he will make your path straight. I don't know what version this is, but I like the ones that actually, the version that doesn't say "make your path straight," because if you've been on this journey of life for more than 30 seconds, you know life isn't straight. It's all about all of the twists and turns. But another version of this same thing says, "And he will light your path. He will illuminate it. He'll tell you what your next step is," right? "Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil." Guys, when we're just willing to go, I don't know. It sometimes it hurts, sometimes it's hard, sometimes we can't. But at the end of the day, when we practice it more and more and more and more and more, then we start to settle into, one, I'm covered by grace. I'm forgiven by God. And I can open myself up to being curious. I can submit my understanding to God and let him illuminate my next step. And now it's well with my soul, and I'm navigating this thing we call life. Yeah. All right. Let me stop the recording.